Hello! Leading Raindrops here, as usual. This is another weekly segment of Rainy Readings. This week we are joined by my cat, who is normally camera shy, but for some reason he seems to have gotten over it. Say hello, Niblet. Say hello to all the people on the internet. Yeah. Yes, he's adorable. Okay, so this week, I don't have the survey up for you. Shipping Goggles was actually not the highest score, or rather the lowest score, the way I've got it, but it was the lowest score that is safe for work. So the one that actually got the lowest score will be the one we'll be doing later, which you'll just have to show up to find out what it was. Or if you're really smart and you've been keeping track of the survey, you'll notice that it's missing from the survey. But anyways, here we go for Shipping Goggles. Now, I normally pick like a foreign accent with it, and I'm wondering if I should just do a survey for you guys to decide which one you want to see me do with which story. But I'll try that later. There's a little short little thing here with way more views than it has words, so this is gonna be great. I think I'm going to use one I normally only use when I'm goofing off, so this should be interesting. Was she imagining it? No, of course she wasn't. There was something about the way they looked at one another. Something undeniably tender in the gazes they exchanged, and the affectionate little touches they gave, and in the barely restrained lust underlying it all. Though perhaps lust wasn't quite the right word. Whatever the two of them shared was certainly far too pure to be sullied by such a dirty word. After all, they were so young, so inexperienced. Well, Pinkie Pie was, at least. Rarity couldn't have said for sure about Rainbow Dash. To be honest, she wouldn't have put it past the Pegasus to already be familiar with the ways of the flesh. Still, experienced or not, there was something bright and innocent about the two of them, even if Rainbow Dash did know a little more about it. Certain things that Pinkie Pie did. Even though Rainbow Dash did know a little more about certain things that Pinkie Pie did, was still ignorant of true passion. Neither of them had ever been in a relationship before. After all, the poor dears really didn't know where to begin. I'm guessing this is Rarity narrating, which, interesting enough. Anyway, but the longing was there. The desire. Even if they didn't actually know what to do with such feelings, Rarity could still see them, and it excited her like nothing else. What else could it be? Young love, Rarity thought, a dreamy expression on her face. Such a beautiful thing. The two ponies in question remained oblivious throughout her entire internal monologue. They lay collapsed on the floor of the bakery's kitchen, giggling like madmares, their manes flecked with white and Pinkie's dainty little tongue stretching to improbable lengths in order to lap at the cream still on her face. While exploring the basement of Sugar Cube Corner earlier, Pinkie had accidentally discovered a stash of aerosol cans of whipped cream and had promptly challenged Rainbow Dash to a whipped cream eating contest. But about halfway through, the challenge had stopped being about eating the most cream and instead become about emptying the cans as fast as possible, even if that meant having a whipped cream fight and crashing about the kitchen in order to spray one another. Now, the entire bakery was obviously absolutely covered in tufts of fluffy white sweetness. It almost looked as though it had been snowing indoors for some reason. Countless pots and pans were scattered across the room, a direct result of the two of them clattering about the kitchen, bumping into the tables and counters as they chased each other. "Aw, man, that was totally awesome!" Rainbow Dash snickered, lifting her hooves to her face to try and wipe the cream off. "But seriously, the cakes are gonna be mad. We should clean this up before we get home." "Easy peasy, Dashy. It's whipped cream. All we gotta do is eat it." "Pinkie Pie, you're crazy." And the two of them, still caught in the throes of their individual sugar highs and still giddy from the insanity of the afternoon, collapsed into yet another pile of hysterical, giggling laughter. "Why are we here again?" Twilight hissed urgently to her two companions. "I thought we were just picking them up so we could all go to Applejack's. How did it turn into this?" Fluttershy shrugged meekly, but Rarity didn't even seem to hear. She was too distracted to notice, off in her own little world. "Eat it?" the white unicorn repeated faintly. "Oh, eat it?" Straddling the pink mare's waist, Rainbow Dash pushed Pinkie Pie down so that she was lying against the floor. Grinning, the Pegasus leaned forward and brushed Pinkie's mane from her eyes. this is one thing that sort of bugs me a little bit, especially since there's actually another Pegasus in the room, which is Fluttershy, apparently. I mean, great as the story's been so far, he really shouldn't do this all too much. I mean, I know, yes, that hearing the same name over and over again can get confusing, but she would have been fine, I suppose. I don't know. I really don't know how to fix this, but I really shouldn't be reviewing the story since I should be enjoying it, since it's great. So, let's move on. Now, this is where you need a good descriptor. She, I suppose, would mean Pinkie, in this case, since she's the last one who was referred to. So, I'm just going to assume this is Pinkie Pie because... no, but then down here, after we get down here, then we realize, no, it's not Pinkie Pie, and we've got to go back up and read this again. You really need to specify who this is, you can't just leave it ambiguous like that. Anyway, moving on. Oh my, she murmured, lifting her eyebrows suggestively. Look at all this cream. We should probably clean it all up before the case get home, huh? Pinkie giggled, low and seductive, before hooking her forelegs around Rainbow Dash's neck and drawing her closer. Wanna help, Dashy? She cooed. I don't think I can get it all by myself. Well, let's see. Dash bent her head, presenting a gentle kiss against the crook of Pinkie's neck. This earned her a soft moaning response. This is safe for work, isn't it? Safe for Wuna. Not safe for Wuna. I mean, it's... I made sure it was at least rated teen. I suppose rated teen, yeah, is going to be suggestive content. Alright, anyways, moving on. This earned her a soft moan in response as her tongue began to flick at the cream, lapping it up. Tongue still peeking out of her mouth, Rainbow began to... Although Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie remained blissfully ignorant of Rarity's train of thought, upon seeing her glassy-eyed stare, Twilight and Rarity exchanged looks of alarm. Is she... Rarity, Fluttershy whispered, eyes wide in panic. No doubt about it, Twilight confirmed in a whisper, should be a comma there, of her own, nodding grimly. She's not even upset about the mess they made. This could be bad. The yellow Pegasus squeaked in fear. Hey, weren't we supposed to go to AJ's? Rainbow asked from the kitchen. Oh no, Pinkie squealed. You're right, Applejack will be so sad that we forgot. But we gotta get going. But I'm all sticky. Rainbow Dash began to flap her wings, waggling her tail and shaking about like a wet dog, sending even more little flecks of white cream flying into the air. Twilight flinched, quickly casting a magical barrier between the kitchen and adjoining living room to protect the three of them that were waiting so patiently. As Pinkie Pie scrambled upright, she slipped in on a splotch of cream and almost tumbled backwards, but Rainbow Dash swooped in just in time, catching her absent-mindedly. Rarity gasped softly at this gallant display of chivalry. We totally need baths, Rainbow Dash said casually. I'm sticky too. I'll find us a rain cloud before we go. Rainbow Dash. The white unicorn's hoofs flew to her chest, clasping them over her pounding heart. Oh, she whispered, eyelashes fluttering. The warm water splashed gently as the two mares giggled in the tub they shared. Rarity! Rarity blinked, shaking her head to clear her thoughts before turning to face Twilight. It was as though she were coming out of a daze. A dreamy smile played on her lips. What is it, dear? She asked sweetly. Twilight Sparkle sighed, rubbing her forehead with a hoof. Rarity's gaze flickered nervously between the two of them, but the way she stood at Twilight's side seemed reminiscent of an intervention. Just then, Rainbow Dash stuck her head through the doorway, leading from the kitchen to the room where they three stood. I would have said the three of them, but I suppose this still works. It's a little awkward though. Sorry, guys, she called, apparently unaware that she and Pinkie had been speaking plenty loud enough to have been clearly audible until then. We, kinda lost track of the time. Give us a second, we can go. Why do we always give sex? Yeah, what do you want? What do you want? Boop. Good joke. Good. Very where is it here? Da, da, da. Very, very good. A single extraordinary, unladylike, and immature snort burst from Rarity when she. Can't we ever give mins or hours or days or. Oh. Yeah, you see, you confused me here. You mentioned Rarity's name here, and then you said something here without mentioning that it was Pinky who was still talking. So I thought this was Rarity talking here. Can't we ever give mins or hours or days? Of course, darling. Take all the time you two need. Rarity graciously allowed a benevolent smile upon recovering. The smile remained exactly where it was as she followed her two friends with her eyes, watching as the two of them practically skipped out of the bakery, still giggling and bumping into each other, although with Pinkie Pie there was no practically about it. She quite literally hopped. The moment they had left in search of their rain cloud, Twilight took a firm hold of Rarity's shoulders, twisting the other unicorn around to face her that they were either. Rarity? She said gently. It's wonderful that you care so deeply about your friends, but this needs to stop. You can't do this again. What did Rarity do? Fluttershy silently nodded her agreement, looking ashamed of it all the while. Rarity blinked. Why, whatever do you mean, darling? She asked, puzzled. Twilight sighed. We know what that look means. It means that you're seeing things that aren't there, Twilight patiently explained, trying her very best to sound understanding in spite of her frustration. It was possible that she was frustrated, wasn't it? After all, this had to be at least the 20th time that they had had this conversation since he'd arrived in Ponyville. We know you love your friends, and we know we love each other, too. But not that way. Rarity sniffed, haughtily shrugging Twilight's hooves off her shoulders before daintily lifting her own to brush them off. I simply don't know what you're talking about. Think, Rarity. Doesn't this seem the tiniest bit familiar? What does? Twilight groaned, burying her face in her hooves. Fluttershy, help me out here, please, she pleaded. Well, what Twilight is saying is that you, Fluttershy stammered, her face turning a brilliant shade of scarlet. Alrighty then. You kind of have a habit of, well, you see, you have a habit of making assumptions, Rarity. Twilight cut in after a moment of Fluttershy's nervous shuddering. You see ponies doing things together, perfectly normal, everyday things, and you take them out of context. We know that you're a romantic at heart, but you can't just assume things. I never assume, Rarity cried, taking on a grand air. I'm insulted that you should even imply as much. Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie were just fooling around. There was nothing deeper to it than... Rarity gasped. You saw it too? She cried, all delusions of grandeur temporarily forgotten as she swept forward, seizing Twilight Sparkle by the shoulders herself. Well, of course you did. It's so obvious. No, that's just it. They were just being themselves, silly and playful, but that's all. That's what I mean by you taking things out of context. And again, Twilight sighed in exasperation. Rarity, please. Ponies can be close to one another without secretly being in love. But it's so blatant. How can you not see the longing in their eyes when they look at one another? As their friends, shouldn't we be supportive of their blossoming romance? There is no blossoming romance. Fluttershy, Rarity declared, wheeling around a dramatically pointed and now cowering Pegasus who eeked in terror as a response. You're a pony after my own heart, you dear thing. Surely your sense of romance allows you to see what Twilight's missing. And Fluttershy swam. Well... Now that she thought about it, though Rainbow Dash and Pinkie did seem unusually close. Oh, Now that she thought about it, though, Rainbow Dash and Pinkie did seem unusually close. Perhaps not necessarily that close, but well, they did tend to hang out together fairly often. They could often be found together pulling pranks, and did tend to turn to one another first whenever the group needed to split up for some reason, and Pinkie Pie was the only one in their circle of friends allowed to call Rainbow Dash Dashy. And nobody else had such a pet name from her, and Pinkie had grown rather jealous of Gilda. Actually, Fluttershy slowly began, voice soft and hesitant. Maybe... No! Twilight shouted. Don't let her get to you! Don't you remember what happened between you and Applejack? Fluttershy blanched. With a squeal, she abruptly stopped talking, shrinking behind her protective curtain of hair. Actually, I do like that little detail. She uses her hair to hide behind so much, almost like the idea, if I can't see it, it can't see me. So I actually like that little detail right there. I mean, I like the whole story so far, but that's beside the point. Oh, darling, I apologize for that, didn't I? Rarity rushed to reassure the trembling Pegasus, affectionately stroking her mane as she shot a glare at Twilight Sparkle. It was a misunderstanding, that's all. But I truly thought that you two were, you know, so embarrassing. Yes, misunderstanding. That's precise. Yes, misunderstanding. That's precisely it. Twilight agreed with a prim nod. You have all of these romantic notions, and then you find a way to interpret even the most innocent of interactions as evidence justifying a non-existent relationship. It can be endearing sometimes, but it's also risky. Well, I don't see how it can be risky. Risky. Sorry, bit of an inside joke here, although if you're on Ponychan, you'll probably get it. Rarity Mod, Crimson Risk, we among his friends who chat with him on Skype and other places, like to call him Risky a lot. Often typing it with like a million I's, so it's Risky. So, yeah, anyways, back to the story. Rarity began to argue, but Twilight cut her off with a wave of her hood. Remember that banquet in Canterlot when you had the epiphany that I was in love with Princess Celestia? She asked curtly, blushing slightly. Rarity had at least had the presence of mind to look guilty at the reminder. Not only were you wrong, but you almost caused a massive scandal. Imagine what ponies would have thought the ruler of Equestria, the benevolent... Imagine what ponies would have thought the ruler of Equestria, the benevolent Princess of the Sun, carrying out an illicit affair with her underage pupil. Actually, this is the funny thing. I think of Twilight as early 20s. As far as if her age could be translated into human years, I think of, Rarity's got to be up near 30. I'd put her at 29, and I would put Twilight at about 26. Pinkie Pie is 22. Applejack, in my opinion, is 24, 25. Rainbow Dash would be about 19. Actually, Pinkie Pie could be... Did I say 22 for Pinkie Pie? And then Fluttershy would be, well, also up in the later 20s. Fluttershy, I put it around 27. Although, she's supposed to be a year older than Rainbow Dash, so we could put her at 20. The point is, they're just beyond the adolescent years. The reason being because they're supposed to be old enough that they don't need their parents anymore, but young enough that they can still learn, and all that. So, they still need to learn these lessons. So I put Twilight at about 24. I think I said. I don't know, somewhere in there, mid-20s. Where was I here? Where was I? Massive scandal. It would have been unhealthy and illegal. It would have been cute. Rarity. It would have been cute. Rarity muttered, but cast her eyes downward all the same, looking ashamed. It's okay to pretend, I guess. This, you can't have this many commas in a sentence. I'm sorry, it just does not work. It's okay to pretend, I guess. Period. But honestly, Rarity, please don't jump to conclusions. Twilight pleaded weakly. At least, not unless something actually happens. If Rainbow and Pinkie ever actually do get together for some reason, then, well, of course we'll be supportive. But until then, maybe you shouldn't be so, passionate in your support of their love. If you have nothing but suspicions to go on, don't act like it's already happened, Fluttershy added in a whisper, seemingly having found her voice. Going to seemingly type a nasty review. Honestly, though, things that actually happen don't seemingly happen. For example, I did not seemingly throw that tiny little whatever it was wire. My cat is seemingly sitting on the couch. This computer is seemingly working. I mean, these things are actually happening. He actually is sitting on the couch. I actually did toss a tiny little piece of wire. My computer actually is working. These things are not seemingly happening. They are happening. So, Fluttershy did find her voice. So, Fluttershy added in a whisper, having found her voice. Seemingly should not be there at all. Anyways, back to the story. And maybe you shouldn't try to force it, either. Especially when it doesn't even make sense. It can be kind of scary when you do that. You get so worked up. The Lavender Unicorn suggested. Lavender Unicorn Syndrome. Lavender Unicorn suggested, and Fluttershy nodded quickly. Rarity sighed. Now that her friends were saying... What her friends were saying was logical, she supposed. Although it would have been fun to have gotten to play matchmaker for her friends, giving them just the pushes they needed to realize the true feelings they held for one another that obviously lay just beneath the surface, allowing their emotions to finally erupt like a volcano of love. Fiery love. But perhaps she should humor them. After all, Twilight and Fluttershy looked so alarmed. Luckily, Rarity was spared the need to think of an appropriate response by the sudden reappearance of Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie, who burst through the door together, crashing back into the bakery as noisily as they had initially entered. Although Rainbow was dry, Pinkie was still dripping wet. I would do the same thing, Pinkie. I would, oh my goodness, I would love the rain. But that's my personal opinion. Okay, Pinkie sang, hopping in place and sending little droplets of water flying in the faces of her friends. We're ready! Don't you want to dry off first? Twilight asked, looking relieved at the interruption. You know, it's going to be hilarious as if they're actually interested in each other, and the author hints at it at the end of the story. This is going to be interesting. Nah, it's super hot outside, and this feels super duper good right now, Pinkie giggled. She had a way of speaking that made every word sound like a laugh bubbling from somewhere deep within her. I know exactly what you mean. That was your intent. Then she sneezed. Twilight rolled her eyes, smiling. Here, let me take care of it. A soft yellow glow enveloped Pinkie, and Rarity could feel the warmth of it from where she stood. Within a matter of seconds, Pinkie's fur and mane had fluffed out once again, fully dried by the light of Twilight's magic, which is supposed to be purple! Why is it yellow? Not that there's anything wrong with the color yellow, but why is Twilight's magic yellow? Oh, wow! Pinkie gasped. That felt amazing! Do it again! Do it again! Not now. We better get going to AJ's. Twilight answered lightly before trotting across the door, casting one final meaningful look back at Rarity. Twilight, you're amazing! You're the smartest smarty-pants unicorn ever. Isn't that right, Dashie? Yeah, I guess, Rainbow answered, sounding bored. No. Could it be? Of course. Rarity, why? It made so much sense. No wonder Twilight Sparkle had been so upset. She'd been jealous, the poor dear. What a scandal. A love triangle, perhaps. Remy had never even suspected such a thing, but the more she thought about it, the more it made sense. After all, they were such opposites. The chaotic baker, the strictly structured scholar, each of them clever in their own unique way. And opposites attract, right? And it was so utterly, unbearably cute. Perhaps even cuter than Rainbow Pie. Oh, I like to call it Pinky Dash, and it is one of my favorite shippings, although I'm more of a fan of Pinky Mac, because that just kind of works. Not that I'm racist or anything against the... I mean, I love Pegasi, but... I like Pinky Mac better than Pinky Dash. Perhaps even cuter than Rainbow Pie had been, because Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie were so utterly similar. There was no conflict to make it interesting. But this made so much sense. The allure of forbidden love. Forbidden not by society, but by their own fears and limitations. Them against the world, against all odds. Ah, Rarity could simply die. It was so perfect. And she's thinking in third person, too. Fancy that. As the five of them walked to Sweet Apple Acres together, Rarity remained silent, carefully observing the couple's interactions. And contrary to what she had once deluded herself into believing, Rainbow and Pinkie weren't automatically drawn to one another. Actually, Dash flew overhead with Fluttershy, while Pinkie and Twilight shuttled easily together in front. Was she imagining it? No. No, of course not. Rarity had to suppress a squeal of delight. Later that night, under the cover of darkness, a certain rainbow-maned Pegasus slipped unseen into Sugar Cube Corner, where she was greeted. Now, you see, this is what bugs me. There's absolutely no reason to do this. Rainbow-maned Pegasus means Rainbow Dash. Now, why do you want us to take a second to say, oh, that's right, the only Rainbow-maned Pegasus I know of is Rainbow Dash? Why not just say Rainbow Dash? A certain Rainbow-maned Pegasus. Why beat around the bush? Why not just say Rainbow Dash? It's shorter, it gets to the point faster, it's clearer. I mean, really, what possible reason did you not want us to realize at first that this was Rainbow Dash and doing a terrible job of it? What possible reason could you have for describing her like this instead of just saying Rainbow Dash? I don't get it. A certain rainbow-maned Pegasus slipped unseen into Sugar Cube Corner, where she was greeted eagerly by the curly-haired baker within. Unless you're talking about Mrs. Cake, I think you should say Pinkie Pie. This is so awesome! Rainbow muttered in between kisses. It's so funny that nobody even knows about us. You'd think it'd be obvious, huh? Pinkie giggled before waggling her eyebrows suggestively. Oh, hey! I think I have some whipped cream left. Want to have some fun? Rainbow Dash snorted a laugh. You're totally crazy. You know that? But that's why you love me. Yep, that's why I love you. Still giggling, the two of them kissed once more. And then they had sex. Nice last line there. And I was totally right. Totally right. Wasn't I, Niblet? Yeah, he doesn't care. Right, well, definitely a good one. Have to add that one to the favorites list. Where's the button? Where's the button? Poof! Alright, don't know who was watching, and I don't have the stream window open, so I haven't been watching the comments, because this kind of works better anyways. So, sorry, you couldn't watch Positively Pinky. And tune in about an hour and a half for the After Dark one. Find out what it is.